Welcome back, folks. I, again, had a recommended clip on my social media. Do I need the light? Nah, I guess it's light enough. Anyway, I just like discovering movies in the wild mostly. You know, I have an extensive DVD and VHS collection, and people give me recommendations all the time. I'm sorry, Danielle, I will get it around to reviewing the movies that you told me about. But today we are going to be reviewing another Facebook clip that popped up. Where the Heart Is, 2000 is the year that this movie came out. It is directed by Matt Williams, and it has a 2-hour runtime. Now, this movie was on streaming for rent for like $3.99, and we didn't want to pay that, and someone had uploaded the entire movie for free on YouTube with no commercials or anything, which I found very odd. It just let us watch the whole movie. Maybe it's, I don't know, it slipped through the cracks. My friend Kyle says it's only a matter of time before someone reports it and it gets taken down. So we got lucky and we saw it for free. So this movie is starring Natalie Portman and Ashley Judd. Is that right?
Yeah.
And it's got a very brief cameo in it with Sally Field. But this movie is interesting because it's based on a 1995 best-selling book by a person named Billy Letts. The screenplay was adapted by Lowell Gans and Babaloo Mandel. This is a writing team that wrote several 1980s classics, including Night Shift, Spies Like Us, Gung Ho, which is a classic Ron Howard movie, and also the late 80s hit with Steve Martin, I believe, Parenthood. They wrote that screenplay. And then they wrote one of your early 2000s. Yeah.
The show Parenthood?
No, it's a movie. Steve Martin. They wrote the early 2000s Farley Brothers movie, Fever Pitch.
Oh, that was a good movie.
That's a classic. Drew Barrymore.
That was an underrated movie.
And Jimmy Fallon. And I think it is a good movie.
It's really
So
good.
anyway, these people have written a ton of hits.
Written.
They've written a ton of hits. This movie was enjoyable, but it is not my favorite. However, people like this movie. It is considered a romantic comedy drama. My problem with this movie is I hated the way they portrayed people from the Midwest as very stereotypical and ignorant, but I guess that kind of fit the plot of the movie. And then there's too many things going on. It's a 2-hour movie, and they just have too many different crazy things happening where it's like, okay, this is one more tragedy that's happened, and it's like already there's so many intense things happening, and then it's like add one more thing on. So do you want to kind of give everybody just a brief overview of the movie if you haven't seen it?
Yeah, so it's about this gal. She's a young woman, probably in her...
She was 17.
She's 17, okay. Her name is Nova Lee, and she's got this boyfriend who's just a piece of garbage.
And they're driving...
doesn't treat her very nicely.
And they're leaving their rural Tennessee redneck ways, and they're going to drive to California, and he knocked her up, and she's like 17 years old.
The bottom of the floor...
The floor pan of this 64 Plymouth Belvedere two-door post car, I believe, is completely rusted out, and they mentioned that he paid $80 for this car. It's leaking all these fluids, and they're going to road trip from Tennessee to California, which is like a 4-day drive. And
she loses her shoes because there's a hole in the floor of the car. And she said she took her shoes off because her feet were swollen and she's pregnant. So then she spots a Walmart, which interesting that they're able to use the actual name of the store.
I'm sure that was free advertising.
Yeah. So she says, oh, Walmart, good, I can go pee and get some house shoes. So he gives her like $10 to buy, a pair of flip-flops or something.
And at this point, they've made it halfway across the country. They're in Oklahoma.
So she goes inside there, and she has this thing with the number 5. Her mom left her when she was 5 years old. And then something else bad happened. She had to get 55 stitches on like the 5th of the month when she was a girl or something. And so she hates the number 5. Bad things always happen surrounding the number 5. So her change that is due to her when she buys the shoes is $5.55. And she's like, no. So then she runs out to the parking lot, and of course this trash garbage boyfriend is gone. He abandoned her there in the middle of nowhere in the Oklahoma Walmart.
And so then the movie kind of goes from there, where she ends up giving birth to this baby in the Walmart. She's basically squatting overnight because she has nowhere to go. And she's living overnight covertly in the Walmart, which I thought was totally unrealistic. And
we were discussing how crews come in to restock the Walmart in the middle of the night. So
yeah, they have cleaning crews overnight. But maybe it was different back then. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I just thought this is
it's kind of unrealistic how some parts of the Walmart are set up more like a department store, like a camping area where she pulls a sleeping bag out every night and she sleeps in this little spot that's set up like a campsite. I don't know. It seemed more like something a department store would do. I don't usually see Walmarts do that, but you know, it's a movie.
It's just, this movie was just like, it's just so, maybe it's just again playing off the plot of like that she's from like rural Tennessee and they're in the Midwest, but it's like her name is Nova Lee and she gives birth to this daughter and gives her a meaningful name, Americus. And then she's living with this one woman whose name's Sister Husband.
Well, it turned out on the booklet when she died that her last name was Husband.
That's what I know.
And she went by Sister, but when you say it, it sounds confusing.
No, her first name was Sister.
That was her nickname. Her nickname was Sister, I think. Her first name was Thelma.
And like this one kid, there's like this one poignant scene where like her best friend's two children get like brutally molested by one of this girl's boyfriends. And then it's like this serious moment. But then the kids' names are Brownie and Praline, and it's just like, it's just so cheesy.
Yeah, I had a problem with the names in this movie, and they do kind of make jokes about how her best friend like names her kids after,
and she has different desserts. Dads for all the kids,
which was just weird. Like her friend is a nurse, and one of her kids was calling, and one of the fellow coworkers, you know, she says, "Who's calling?" And he says, "I don't know, like Twix or Twinkie, or I don't know what their name is."
So
you know,
stupid.
It's a dessert name. So it kind of wrecks the moment of them being upset about this molestation, because the kid's name is like Praline or whatever.
Brownie.
So weird.
The movie.
Anyway.
The movie was somewhat of a success. It had a $15 million budget, and it went on to gross $40 million at the box office. The movie takes place in Oklahoma, but was actually filmed in Central Texas near the Austin area.
Oh.
Overall, I just think, like, I liked parts of it, and I think Natalie Portman is fine, and I thought the ensemble cast was fine, but it's just so cheesy in so many aspects. So overall, I'm going to go 2 out of 5, and I'm kind of in line with the critics score. The critics average on Rotten Tomato is 35%. However, over 50,000 audience members submitted their score to Rotten Tomatoes, and their average is much higher, 76%. And even IMDb is not bad, 6.7 out of 10. And 75 people have submitted their review to Google, which is not a very big census, but they're 4.6 out of 5. So people like it. I would say it's an enduring movie. It's a heartfelt movie, but it does have some dark and disturbing subject matter. I wouldn't say it was a very graphic film. It did talk about some graphic subject matter, and there was a really awkward sex scene with her and her future boyfriend that we won't discuss and give you spoilers.
And I don't like his name either. His name was Forney.
Again, why? It was a real turn-off. The name.
The actor's name in real life was James. Why couldn't his name just be James? He'd be so much more attractive if he had a better name.
And like, then again, this was based off a book, and for the most part, it kept true to the book. So there was some deviation, but they're basing this off of another person's story, right? So what do you give it overall? You think I'm wrong with 2 out of 5? Do you think I'm being too harsh?
I think that's low. You know how in the movie Forrest Gump, how it's basically his whole life and lots of different things happen?
There's a lot.
That's kind of how this movie, the vibes that this movie gives me, because from the time she's 17 till I don't know how old she was at the end.
I think it's like a 5-year period.
It's a lot of things that happen in her life, but it's cool to see like the different people that she meets along the way, and how she kind of, I feel like one of the
didn't necessarily have a home. She left Tennessee, but then the home is wherever your friends are. And you could make your own family, even if you come from a bad situation. Sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah, well, what I was thinking was, and what you said was exactly right, but she had abandonment issues
Yeah.
because her boyfriend abandoned her in that Walmart, and then her mom had already abandoned her when she was
And then
5.
shows up again when the baby's born.
Right, and then
Rips her off and takes all of her money.
she had gotten $500. Sorry, they're spoilers, but it's an old movie anyway. She had gotten $500 from her mom, or from
Walmart.
from
Because
the
if she
CEO of
became like
Walmart.
a news media sensation.
And then her mom strolls back into town because she saw her on TV, and she makes all these promises like,
Oh, we're
I'm
going
gonna
to be a
help
family
you
again.
find like a place to live, and oh, this is great, I'm gonna take this $500 and we got to get a crib, I got to get diapers, like I have all these things to do, so I'll pick you up tomorrow. And then it just reinforces her abandonment issues when she's waiting like on the curb and her mom never comes to get her. So but then
And then she meets these guys that just want to use her for sex and then like don't have anything more to do with her after
right, and then her friend is kind of similar because her friend just keeps picking these terrible men
that she
who
thinks are going to
just
make
wanna
her better and
life.
and make her life better, but then they
And
end
she
up
just
making
wants
it
to have
worse.
like a father for her children because she has a lot of children by different fathers,
Yeah.
and then all of them are garbage. So but the different people that she meets, like the sister husband lady, she's older, so she kind of turns into like a grandma for her daughter, and she watches her daughter while she goes to work.
Oh my gosh, there's so many tragedies in this
And
movie.
there are, and there's a tornado too.
Oh
and
my
that
God, it is
scene makes me
Oklahoma,
really
right?
mad. But because they don't take it seriously enough. But
Perhaps
guess
if
what I
you
was
live in the
trying to say-
Midwest and you're used to tornadoes, it's just like,
yeah, I guess most of the time it's not a big deal, but the time that it is a big deal, you need to be ready.
get to the
and-
shelter when that
taking it
siren starts a
seriously.
wailing.
Exactly. But what I was trying to get at is that it shows that there are good people in the end, and that like, yeah, there's people who will let you down and maybe abandon you, and they might even be in your own family, like these horrible garbage people who treat you like crap.
Oh.
But if you develop some discernment, realize your own worth, and
Yeah,
that you
because
deserve better.
that was part of it too. Because if she was just like this so-called ignorant hick from Tennessee that was like a single mom,
Yeah, it
but
showed
then
that
even
she tried to read, and she struggled to read, and would have to look in she said she had to look in the children's dictionary to look words up and stuff, so she felt stupid,
but then
she wasn't.
She became like a successful photographer, and she won an award from Kodak, and she ended up making something of herself and having a better life, because anybody can pull themselves out of a bad situation if they work hard and try hard enough, I think is the message too that they're trying to teach.
Right.
Maybe
And
I'm
if
not
you-
giving the movie
and
enough
if you
credit.
cut those people out of your life who
The toxic
they
people.
continually disappoint you and show their true colors, that they're not a good person, then at some point you have to realize that it's not your fault. Even if that person was in your family, like,
Sure.
It's okay to let them go and find somebody who does treat you the way you deserve. So I thought that was a good theme.
It was. So
don't
what
know.
did you
I
give
liked it.
did you give your rating on it yet? What did you
I
say?
don't know, but I think I'm 3.5 out of 5. It was pretty good. It was
Okay.
a little bit long-winded, but yeah, it was basically her whole life story from 17 on. So there was a lot to cover.
There was. Anyway, what? Let me ask you this.
I enjoyed it.
Okay.
And I've seen it before, but I forgot.
What
so.
what could have made this movie? Because again, I'm low. I'm 2 out of 5. I thought it was cheesy, but I did enjoy it. What would you think that have made this movie better?
Gosh, I don't know.
Do you think it was? It is what
It was missing something. Like there were a couple parts where I did get kind of emotional, like inside, but it wasn't enough to like cry.
I think it could have been better at
the emotional factor could have been.
And it was just there was too
I
much,
don't know.
right? Perhaps they could have cut out some of the crazy things that happened, and it would have been a better movie, and it wouldn't have been as long. 2 hours.
Yeah, I kind of
was
started to
long.
feel like a soap opera after a
Yeah.
while. So, but then again, some movies are like that where they show like every single person this character meets or whatnot. But it did have closure too with the boyfriend who abandoned her, and it kind of showed forgiveness that way because she was
Yeah.
able to
Move on.
forgive him and help him out at the end when he needed help,
Yeah.
and he was basically able to say like
I was wrong.
sorry in a roundabout way that he
Abandon her.
yeah. So I appreciated that. It showed like forgiving your enemies, I feel like, because like that was a terrible thing that he did, but it caused her to find like a real family pretty much. So
Thanks for watching.
I liked it.
Thanks for the long-winded. If you stuck with us through the whole review and you've seen this movie or you know about this movie, let us know in the comments.
you're a rock star if you stuck with us.
See you next time, folks. Thanks for watching.
Bye.